What was the C stands for what?
Communication.
Very good, very good, very good communication. And then what we try to achieve through the communication?
How we can actually correctly communicate with AI.
With AI, okay. So this communication, correct communication with AI, it relies on language, right?
Yeah.
It's a language. So when you want to communicate with someone like me, you use English language. And then what means using correct way of English language?
Like how to actually write the correct prompt for it to give you the answer you're looking for.
So for example, you're asking me to introduce you a good coffee shop, right?
Yes.
So you can ask me in many different ways. Okay, just ask me in a good way now, just something that motivate me to give you a good answer.
I know you're like a coffee enthusiast and you probably know good coffee around here, so maybe you could recommend me a good place.
Okay. So you use something that you know about me, right? You know that coffee enthusiast triggers some of my brain neurons, a part of my brain neurons that I engage with them because I brew coffee myself. And that drives me to provide the information connected to them. Rather than if someone says, do you know any good place for the coffee, right? But if you use aficionado instead of the enthusiast, you trigger more of me because I read a lot of books, articles, and stories, and this term is very solid term, okay? You see, you can play around with them. So you just did now a prompt engineering in the English language. You use a context, you gave me a context that pushed me toward that direction to talk to you. Now let's pick up another way, a bit different, not in that way of asking a coffee, maybe a different way asking for a coffee.
Okay, I think I'm feeling like not very productive, and I know there's some projects that are pending from my side, but I want to wake up before I can get to the task. So can you tell me where I can get good coffee from?
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's good. Now you are giving me a different context because in this context, perhaps I go and talk about the project as well. Oh, really? What's the project? And then maybe even we forget about the coffee, right? Because I may go to the projects and you explain me the projects and we talk about the projects and this and that, and then maybe we sit down and solve the projects rather than the coffee. There's a possibility out of it because you change the context. But imagine in both you had same intention. You wanted to get a good coffee, but the first one was a different way. The second one is you are intentionally sending me a message like now that I have a project to do today. Okay, so this is the prompt engineering. We are keep using it every day, and now we finally build a technology, an AI that hacked the language. This is the first time, I think, because if you back to history, even 12th century, that interesting stories that how human always interested to build a machine that can talk with him or her. The ability, even when at some certain level that people could hallucinate that fire talk to me, or or nature talk to me, or people go and stay 40 days in a desert and then suddenly they start to hear some voices. This shows that we need communication because we're a social animal, and we're not all the time with the human, even with the pet. This shows there's something more than language around the communication. The way we put the words together is make everything in a different way. Even sometimes punctuality. I mean, not punctuality, a punctuation. I mean, like kind of, for example, a comma or a dot or an exclamation or something like that, change the whole thing. So when it comes to AI, this is very, very critical. You can't just go and sit and say, hey, ChatGPT, write for me something. But if you do it in a different way, like the way that you talk to me, you will get absolutely different answer. And that's why I started our AI degree with this course, which is about learning this language to communicate with the AI. This is an entity. Communication is important. We are a communicative animal, and we have to learn how to talk with it. If we don't know how to talk, perhaps we're going to just become a kind of merely user of this system without knowing what is going on. Communication is the main skill that these courses they provide. What we do in this course, the first course, is breaking down this prompt, the way of building the prompt engineering with different AI models, not only the Chat-GPT. We're going to list out different models, and different models, they have different personalities, different pros and cons, and you know, advantages and disadvantages and weaknesses and strengths. And then we learn techniques to make the conversation productive. For example, one of the techniques is chain of thought, COT. It means that if, for example, it has been many example that if you ask GPT to solve the questions for you, logic puzzle questions, you may get the wrong answers, especially GPT 3.5. But if you ask it, just add at the end, think step by step. You just add this, and they figured out above 70% could solve all those questions. You know what's happening when you think step by step, so first we should think like that. Second, you get like a person thinking step by step. Imagine you have a child think step by step. First, let me see what you do, and then get a conclusion. You give the model time to think. They call it, this is a time to think. And the model start to think, because when create some step 1 and step 2, and then when you want to go to the answer, this time the answer has these steps behind of it, and attention to them, and then create the proper answers. This is just a technique. There are many more techniques like that you can answer questions that you cannot answer in a normal way. And then what you do, you go for GPT-4, because GPT-4 is smarter and answer you sooner, than you pay more. And that is inefficient way of using large language model. While a free large language model can give you the answers, because you don't know how to talk, you're just gonna go for GPT-4. You just cheat. And then again, when you work with the GPT-4, we get these skills. At some point, you reach to another limit, but you have to wait for GPT-5. The point is, the art of conversation communication is important. There are a lot of interesting examples of how you can really adjust the better answers and efficient answers. There's something very else, so we discuss about these techniques, how to talk, how to break down. For example, another thing that is you learn in this course is really interesting is, we call this autoprogressive generation. What I mean by autoprogressive means, like when you write a prompt and then the large language model start to create all the tokens right after that. You know, imagine this in a hammer, tick, 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 all the words come.
Like populate your own prompt?
You write a prompt, you ask questions, and then the GPT or large language model start to provide the answers token by token after each other's. So as I discussed before, it looks like we have a prompt, my prompt, and then LLM uses its knowledge to guess what is the next word, next word, next word, next word. So predict linearly. So you see that it looks like it doesn't have the capability to look behind. Oh, I made a mistake. Hold on a moment. I back. You never see something like that. Today, LLM has these issues. They're working on them.
Okay.
But there is a techniques to give this ability to LLM like a human. Let me see. Let me find 3 possible answers, and then I see which one make more sense. I pick up that one. Based on that, I provide my answers. This is called tree of thought. This is fascinating, like what a smart person will do. If you give me a question to solve, I try to come up with different possible answers, and then I look at them. These 3 are good. And then I look at these 3 and work on them, and then I back to you with the answers. Not just give you one answers directly and linearly.
So like GPT is going to give 3 answers?
This is, today large language model, they all act like linearly, right? They don't have this capability to do the search. This is something very interesting we'll talk about in another video, that what I mean by that, and that's something that there are people from a naive user of GPT that I just go, give me the answer for this question. What the hell is that? You can make it much better, especially when the question is, because those experts, when they work with GPT in their own expert area, very soon they see that the answer is not correct, maybe. But when they learn these techniques, suddenly they get better answer. In this series is trying to give us, to not only teaches us how to communicate a language, let's say, because we use our own language, English or another language, but it's more about how to talk, how to communicate. That's why I was thinking, I choose the title language first, but then I said, no, this is communication, the art of communication. I have to know how to talk, how to communicate, and that is very interesting.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's very interesting. A lot of projects, students, they learn to do a lot of research and projects with these kind of techniques. For example, if you now, it's very people will see before they start the course, we ask them to make a poet or write in a story or create an email, and then after the course, we ask them to do the same thing. They obviously see the difference. They say, wow, this was just nothing. This is so beautiful. And these are the things. Oh, there's one more thing also I forgot to say, is hallucination. Because these models, they do hallucination. They may give fake informations. So we also talk about the techniques to make sure the information is valid and credited. Especially when they bring something, we can force the model to give you the citation. So then you know that this fact comes from somewhere in the internet, something like that. But I think it's a very interesting, it's necessity for everybody.
Yes.
Because this is going to be everywhere in our life. You have to know how to communicate.
It sounds super exciting. I think we should all take it.
Attention is all you need.